Hello. So I made a video yesterday, and yeah, I have uploaded it. Something along the lines of philosophy revision: Plato, Aristotle, Descartes, and Jung. I actually missed a little bit out of about Descartes, and I forgot Aristotle's first, the name of Aristotle's first cause. So I'm going to start off with the little bit I missed out about Descartes, because I started making a point and then I jumped to another point for some reason. I think I can remember it. It was, yeah, it was. I said that people seem to have this misconception. I used that word earlier, but in the wrong context, so that's why I'm a little bit hesitant to use it. People have a misconception that Descartes is a dualist, which he does seem to be, in that he says that the body and soul are distinct from one another in a way that the body is material and that it extends into space, and the mind doesn't have extension. It's more of a metaphysical sort of thing, but not, if that makes any sense. But I won't go too far into the details of that because I don't really know. Okay, so although Descartes perceived both of these things to be separate, and although he determined that the only thing that we can be sure about is our conscious mind, and that we can't be sure about sense experience, he said that the body and mind can't exist distinct from one another, and he used a ship analogy to explain this. And I can't remember exactly, but I think it was like, the mind's like the pilot of the ship. A pilot? Does a ship have a pilot? The mind's like the driver of the ship, and the ship is like the body, and it's like, well, you can't really go out to sea without having the ship, so you're a bit useless if you've just got a mind or a captain who can't do anything. And again, if you've just got the ship, then you've got nothing to drive it. So, for example, a dead body is just a dead body with no mind. It doesn't have consciousness. So it's useless. Although I'd say that the captain, left alone, could somehow find something else to do. But if the captain doesn't have a body, obviously it's an analogy, so perhaps I'm thinking too deeply into it. But if the mind doesn't have a body, then it's not extended in space and it can't interact in the world as we know it. Like it does have the possibility of perhaps existing in some other realm that, I don't know. I guess you could call it like a heavenly realm. Like the body dies, the mind extends off into space, but not into space because it doesn't extend. Yeah. So that was the idea about Descartes. Anyway, so I'm not. Keeps pressing and saying it's making noises. Okay, so now Aristotle and his four causes. So I did some revision on these because I realised I really don't know anything about it. And I spent like about an hour today or something making notes on this topic. And my exam is tomorrow, so I need to, I don't know, I'll probably end up making another revision video directly after this. So Aristotle said that we need to be able to understand these four causes in order to be able to explain things, or explain objects, or explain things in the world. So these four causes are the material cause, the efficient cause, the formal cause, and the final cause. So the material cause is essentially the materials of which something is made out of. So I'll use the example of a chair. So what material is a chair made out of? Assuming it's a wooden chair, so it's made out of wood. It's made out of trees. So the material which is used to make the chair is wood. Without the wood, there would be no chair. There would be no wooden chair. You could make a chair of plastic or metal, but without having that material, you don't have a chair at all. Okay, and the second cause is the efficient cause, and this is the agent or the force which acts upon the chair, which acts upon the material in order to transform it into some sort of into what it is, into the chair. You don't just get a tree and it magically turn into a chair. You see some wood and it's like, oh, chair. You have to go through a causal process in order to be able to turn the wood turn the tree into a chair. that makes complete sense. And then this takes us on to the formal cause, which is essentially the form of the object. So you can't just have the material and the efficient, because, well, if you've just got those two things, then and you don't have form, then you don't actually have a chair. You could be talking about numerous different things with that material and the process of making something. You could make anything that's made out of wood. But when you have form, that's like the shape of the chair. It's sort of like a platonic essence almost. But Aristotle says that the form is actually defined by. Oh, the cat just came upstairs. The form is actually defined by the characteristics of something, and it's not something that exists in an external realm like the realm of the forms, which is what Plato believed. The form exists within the material world, so that means that the truth exists empirically, and it exists in material things. And this is a big distinction actually between Plato and Aristotle, because I think I said in my last video that Plato is a rationalist and Aristotle is an empiricist. So Aristotle thinks that you can derive truth by observing the things around you and the things in the external world, and this does seem to be the case, although senses can deceive us sometimes. But if we do testing, like if we look at things scientifically, and we do tests, we carry out tests in order to see if our observations are correct, then we can determine the validity of our sense experience. And so, like, examples of our senses deceiving us, or I guess you could say, going out on a cold day, coming back inside, putting your hand under cold water, that cold water is going to feel warm because your body is cold. So you only really experience the world around you in relation to how you're feeling yourself in the state of your own body. But a scientist would go and they would, I guess, measure the temperature of the water using some sort of device like a thermometer, and that would get a much more accurate reading of the temperature of the actual water. But it's only actually cold or hot dependent on the nature of our own being, and I think it's around about, is it 35, 36 degrees, which is average. I don't know if that's Fahrenheit or Celsius, but yeah. He's climbing. Okay, so I've gone through 3 of Aristotle's causes. So the 4th one is the telos, or the final cause, or the purpose, and the purpose of something determines what was it made for? Why did you make that thing? So I'll stick to the analogy of a chair, or the example of a chair, and well, the purpose that we design chairs is so that we can sit on them or sit comfortably on them. We don't necessarily want a chair which is going to have like spikes sticking up out of it, because well, who's going to want to sit on that? Unless you've got some sort of weird BDSM type fetish, I don't know. But yeah, like not many people are going to really want to sit on a chair if it's not very comfortable. So, but anyway, the point still stands that the purpose of a chair is to sit on it, and the purpose of a table is to put things on it or eat from it. And the purpose of, well, I guess I remember hearing something that Aristotle said that that the 4 causes don't necessarily, he didn't apply them to man-made things. He applied them to natural things. So for example, so I could say like the purpose of rain is so that plants can grow, and it's sort of hard because it's like an imminent purpose almost, or an inherent purpose. It's like, because it's not a consciously directed purpose from some sort of external agent. It's just a purpose within itself, and I don't know. That's a pretty complicated idea, and I don't know if I know a lot about it. Another thing Aristotle talks about is potentiality and actuality, and I guess he splits the world into these things. And this links to the 4 causes again. So potentiality is the piece of wood, it's the tree. Actuality, oh no, potentiality. I feel like these two things are interchangeable, because you could say that the tree is actual, it has the potential to become a chair. When you turn it into the chair becomes actual. And then the tree is no longer potential because you can't really turn a chair back into a tree. If that makes sense. But yeah, so it's so weird because the potential isn't necessarily a real thing. Like we talk of potential as if it's real, as if it's something that exists, that actually exists, but it's more like a metaphysical thing. Like we'll say, oh, they haven't fulfilled their potential, or things like that. But it's like, well, what is potential? Potential is like something that's unrealized. It's not something that's like you can't have potential that's actual, because actual and potential, they're not the same thing. Potential is always something which is waiting to become, or has the potential to become. Like you can't be potential, if that makes sense. Like you can only be actual. How you are in your state right now is actual. Your potential is only ever foreseeable in the future. And so when you say you fulfilled your potential, you're not actually potential at that point. You're potential from the perspective of your past self, but you're actually actual, if that makes sense. But I don't think that really matters too much. I feel like that's most of the important things about Aristotle. I guess I could say that he's a monist, Plato's a dualist. Forms exist within matter, whereas Plato says forms exist externally to matter, and matter's imperfect and not real. There was an interesting painting actually, and I can't remember who did it, and I want to say Michelangelo, but I know it wasn't. No, I can't remember, but it was basically, is it Da Vinci? I don't know. Anyway, it was a painting, and it had all the different philosophers on it, and it was really interesting because it contained some symbolism, and I can only picture parts of it in my head right now. But in the centre of the painting, there was Aristotle and Plato. Plato was pointing up like that to the sky, and that says something about his philosophical views in where he thinks truth lies. He thinks truth lies outside of the material world. It transcends this reality. Whereas Aristotle, he's got his palms pointed down to the ground like that, which is like, well, hold on a minute, Plato. Hold your horses. Truth is right here. It's in the empirical world, and it's just an interesting depiction of both their ideas, portrayed in a painting, I guess. Okay, that's it. I'm really dragging this on now. Yeah, thanks for watching.